I've put googly eyes on all the food in the fridge to prevent snacking. So, my roommate Jake has this problem where he'll demolish everything in our fridge like some kind of human garbage disposal. Last week, I caught him eating mustard straight from the bottle at 2 a.m. Like some kind of psychopath. I tried everything normal people do. Labels with my name, passive-aggressive sticky notes, even buying a mini fridge for my room. Nothing worked. This dude would eat anything that wasn't nailed down. And honestly, he'd probably figure out how to eat the nails, too. Then, I remembered this stupid thing my little sister did when she was like 8. She put googly eyes on everything in her room because she thought it made her toys alive. And they protect her stuff. I thought it was dumb back then. But desperate times call for desperate measures. So, I went to the dollar store and bought every pack of googly eyes they had. I'm talking different sizes. The works. Came home when Jake was at his construction job and got to work. I put googly eyes on everything in that fridge. The milk carton got to big ones that made it look concerned. The leftover Chinese takeout containers got smaller ones that made them look suspicious. I even put tiny ones on individual grapes in the fruit drawer. The yogurt cups looked worried. The beer bottles seemed shocked. And the leftover mac and cheese looked absolutely terrified with these huge googly eyes, staring out from under the plastic wrap. I spent like 2 hours making sure every single item had at least one pair of eyes, looking back at whoever opened the fridge. When Jake got home that evening, I was pretending to watch TV, but really waiting to see what would happen. He went straight to the kitchen like always, probably planning to inhale whatever looked good. I heard the fridge door open, then complete silence for about 10 seconds. "Dude, what the hell did you do to our fridge?" he yelled from the kitchen. I walked in acting all innocent. Jake was standing there with the fridge door wide open, staring at like 30 pairs of googly eyes staring back at him. The milk carton was at eye level, and with those big googly eyes, it looked like it was judging his life choices. "Oh, that I'm trying this new diet technique. It's supposed to make you think twice before eating," I said, trying not to laugh. Jake reached for a string cheese, and I swear the thing looked terrified with its little googly eyes. He actually hesitated, which was already more progress than I'd seen in months. Then he grabbed it anyway, but I could tell the eyes were messing with his head. Over the next few days, something weird started happening. Jake would open the fridge, see all those eyes staring at him, and actually close it without taking anything. I caught him standing there having full conversations with the food. "Sorry, leftover pizza. I know you're looking at me, but I'm really hungry," he said to a pizza box with googly eyes that made it look sad. The breaking point came about a week later. I was in the living room when I heard Jake scream from the kitchen. I ran in and found him backed against the counter, pointing at the fridge. "The eggs are judging me, man. I can feel them watching me sleep at night." I looked at the egg carton through the open fridge door. I put a whole bunch of tiny googly eyes on it. And honestly, it did look pretty creepy in the fridge light. Like a dozen little creatures huddled together, plotting something. "Maybe you should just eat your own food for once," I suggested. That's when Jake snapped. He started ripping the googly eyes off everything, muttering about how food shouldn't have feelings, and how this was psychological warfare. But here's the thing. Even after he removed all the eyes, he still couldn't bring himself to eat my stuff. Apparently, those few weeks of googly-eyed food had rewired his brain. Every time he looked at something in the fridge, he'd remember those little eyes staring back at him. He started buying his own groceries and actually labeling them. And what shocked me the most wasn't just that the googly eyes worked. It was how deeply they seemed to get under his skin in a way that normal adult conversations never had. Like I'd accidentally unlocked some weird psychological cheat code that turned my roommate from a midnight fridge goblin into a semi-functional human with boundaries. At first, I thought it was temporary. Like maybe the novelty would wear off and he'd go right back to inhaling my leftovers the moment the eyes were gone. But days passed and then weeks, and every time I opened the fridge my stuff was exactly where I left it. Untouched, almost reverently so. Like the memory of being silently judged by dairy products had fundamentally changed him. He started asking before taking anything, even stuff I'd previously told him he could have, and the first time he did it, he stood awkwardly in the kitchen holding a bag of chips and said, "Hey man, are these yours? Or are they?" Like watching me. And I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing because this was the same guy who once ate my birthday cake before my birthday and told me he thought it was just a normal Tuesday cake. The fridge itself became the strange neutral zone, almost sacred, where Jake moved slower, opened the door cautiously, scanned shelves like he was expecting eyes to reappear at any second, and then only took what was clearly his. And even then with a kind of guilt I'd never seen from him before. One night he admitted over beers that the worst part wasn't the eyes themselves. It was the way they made him aware of what he was doing. Like for the first time, he couldn't pretend the food was just there for the taking. That it belonged to someone, that it had a story. Which I think is the most introspective thing I've ever heard someone say about mac and cheese. He said after a few days, he started feeling watched even when the fridge was empty. Like some invisible moral surveillance system had been installed in his brain. And once that awareness kicked in, he couldn't shut it off. I noticed other changes too, subtle ones at first. Like how he stopped leaving dirty dishes everywhere, started wiping down counters, even apologized once for eating the last banana without checking. And when I pointed out that he was acting weirdly considerate, he blamed the eggs, said something about their hive mind energy, and refused to elaborate. Friends who came over thought the story was hilarious, especially when Jake would get defensive and insist that it wasn't funny, that the fridge had a presence, and the more he tried to downplay it, the more it became this legendary inside joke, except for him. Because for Jake it was clearly some kind of reckoning. At one point he even suggested we put googly eyes on the pantry just to be safe, which I declined because I wasn't trying to accidentally summon some higher food consciousness. But the fact that he suggested it at all told me everything I needed to know. What really sealed it, though, was when he came home one evening carrying 2 full grocery bags and proudly announced he'd meal prepped for the week, lined everything up neatly in containers and labeled them with his name and dates. Like a man who'd been reborn through the power of craft store plastic, he told me he'd been eating less junk food too, because standing in front of the fridge late at night now made him feel self-conscious. Like the food knew he wasn't actually hungry, just bored. And while I never intended to start some kind of lifestyle overhaul, I wasn't about to argue with results. Looking back, I realized the googly eyes didn't just stop him from eating my food. They broke the autopilot he'd been living on, forced him to slow down and acknowledge his actions instead of mindlessly consuming whatever was within reach. And there's something weirdly poetic about the fact that what finally worked wasn't confrontation or rules, but making the consequences impossible to ignore in the dumbest, most harmless way imaginable. We eventually threw the googly eyes out, though I kept a couple in a drawer like a nuclear option, and even months later, every once in a while I catch Jake opening the fridge, pausing, squinting, and then shaking his head like he was disappointed the food wasn't watching anymore. He never went back to eating my stuff, not once. And when we eventually moved out and went our separate ways, he texted me a picture of his new fridge with the caption "No eyes. Still feels watched," which I think might be the greatest roommate success story I'll ever have. In the end, I didn't just protect my groceries. I accidentally taught a grown man impulse control using arts and crafts. And honestly, if that's not proof that desperation breeds innovation, I don't know what is that story to. My brother's girlfriend told me she doesn't want to eat at our house because my face full of pimples makes her lose her appetite, and she shouldn't have to look at something so repulsive during meals. She actually pulled my brother Kyle aside at dinner and loudly whispered that my cystic acne was triggering her gag reflex, and she couldn't possibly digest food while looking at my infected face. She said it was unsanitary to have someone with open wounds at the dinner table, and she was concerned about bacteria contaminating the food even though acne isn't contagious. She told Kyle that I should eat in my room when she visited because it wasn't fair to subject guests to my skin condition that I clearly caused. Through poor hygiene and bad choices, Haley actually brought her own plastic plates and utensils to our house, saying she didn't want to use dishes I'd touched with my diseased hands, even though I'd explained multiple times that hormonal acne was a medical condition, not a hygiene issue. She'd sit at our family dinners with a scarf wrapped around her face like a mask, and refused to look in my direction. She'd sit at our family dinners with a scarf wrapped around her face like a mask, and refused to look in my direction. Saying my face was too disturbing for mealtime, she told my mother that she was being inconsiderate, allowing me at the table when I looked like I had the plague, and suggested I should wear a bag over my head if I insisted on eating with normal people. She said beautiful people like her had higher sensitivity to ugly things, and it was actually painful for her to witness my skin condition. When my parents defended me, Haley said they were enabling my laziness about Skinner, and if they really loved me, they'd force me to fix my face before allowing me in public spaces. She actually gave Kyle an ultimatum that she wouldn't visit anymore unless I was banned from common areas when she was there, because my appearance was affecting her mental health and ability to eat properly. Kyle weakly asked if I could maybe eat earlier or later than them to keep peace, saying Haley had a genuine phobia of skin conditions and we should be understanding. That's when I decided Haley needed to experience what it felt like to be too disgusting for dinner tables. I started by researching everything that triggered Haley's disgust reflexes beyond my face, and discovered she was terrified of feet, body hair, and certain food textures. So I began a campaign of strategic repulsion, using her own weapons against her. Whenever Haley came over, I'd walk around barefoot and put my feet up on the coffee table right where she could see them. While painting my toenails during her visits, I'd flex my toes and crack them loudly while she tried to eat, mentioning how good it felt to let my feet breathe after being in shoes all day. I'd ask her opinion on my footwear routine and whether she thought my calluses needed work. While wiggling my toes in her direction, Haley would turn green and cover her mouth, but couldn't say anything without seeming hypocritical about bodily disgust. Next, I stopped shaving anything and wore tank tops and shorts that displayed all my body hair whenever she visited. I'd stretch my arms above my head during dinner conversations, making sure she got a full view of my unshaved armpits. I casually mentioned how liberating it was to embrace natural body hair and ask Haley if she'd ever consider growing hers out. I'd run my hands through my leg hair while talking about how soft it was getting, watching her face contort with revulsion she couldn't express without seeming shallow. The real revenge came through food choices. When I learned Haley couldn't handle certain textures without gagging, I started bringing the slimmiest, most texture-challenging foods to every meal, like oysters, okra, and anything with visible fat or gristle. I'd eat them enthusiastically while describing the texture in detail, talking about how the slime coated my throat and the chunks slid down whole. I'd offer her bites and act confused when she refused, saying I thought she loved trying new foods. I'd prepare special desserts just for her visits, like rice pudding with extra lumps and tapioca with the biggest pearls I could find, watching her struggle not to gag at the textures. During one dinner, I made a point of eating cottage cheese with my fingers, letting it drip while discussing how the curds felt between my teeth. Haley actually ran to the bathroom to throw up, and Kyle had to explain she had texture sensitivities we should respect. I innocently said I had skin sensitivities she didn't respect, so we were even. I started inviting my friend Robert over, who had even worse acne than me, and we'd sit on either side of Haley at dinner discussing our skincare routines in graphic detail. We'd compare our cysts and talk about which ones were ready to drain, while Haley pushed her plate away, unable to eat. We shared close-up photos of our progress and debate whether certain pimples looked infected or just inflamed while passing them across Haley's place setting. She begged Kyle to make us stop, but he couldn't figure out how to tell us not to discuss medical conditions without admitting Haley's disgust was based on appearance, not hygiene. The breaking point came when I started dating someone with vitiligo and brought him to family dinner. Esther pulled out the chair between me and Haley, and I watched her face lose all its color as she got a full view of the patches on his skin. The lighter areas covered parts of his hands and neck, and even though I'd warned her about his vitiligo, seeing it in person clearly hit different. Haley's chair scraped backwards so fast it nearly tipped over. She grabbed Kyle's arm and said they needed to eat somewhere else because she suddenly felt sick. Kyle looked confused and asked what was wrong, and Haley pressed her hand to her stomach while staring at Esther, like he'd walked in covered in open sores. She told Kyle she couldn't stay at the table, her voice getting higher and more panicked. My dad's fork clattered against his plate loud enough to make everyone jump. He told Haley that if she couldn't sit at our family table with all our guests, she should leave her house completely. His voice came out flat and cold in a way I'd never heard. Before my mom set down her water glass and added that they put up with Haley's comments about my skin for way too long and they weren't going to watch her insult another person in their home. Haley's eyes filled with tears and she said everyone was attacking her when she had real medical issues that weren't her fault. She dabbed at her eyes with her napkin and said she had actual sensory problems that made certain things unbearable to look at. Kyle jumped in to defend her, saying we were being mean to someone with genuine fears she couldn't control. My mom cut him off mid-sentence and said Haley's behavior went way past any medical problem. She pointed out that Haley managed to function fine in public and at restaurants, but these reactions only happened around people she decided were too ugly for her standards. I felt this weird twist in my stomach that was half victory and half guilt. As Haley sobbed into her napkin, Esther quietly asked if he should go to make things easier for everyone. Robert told Esther to stay because he had every right to eat dinner without someone acting like he was spreading disease. I realized then that my revenge plan had dragged other people into this mess and made them deal with Haley's cruelty, too. Kyle finally turned on Haley and asked why she'd never mentioned these supposed fears before they started dating. He wanted to know why they only showed up around his sister and her friends. Haley insisted her problems were real and that she'd been suffering quietly to be polite, but her voice sounded defensive instead of hurt, like she was making up her story as she went. My mom suggested Haley should see someone about these extreme reactions, if they were actually medical problems and not just excuses to be cruel. Haley got mad and said my mom was calling her a liar. Kyle shifted in his seat, looking more and more uncomfortable as he started noticing the holes in his girlfriend's story. Esther broke the tension by saying he was used to people being uncomfortable around his skin, and he could leave if it helped. That made Haley look even worse when she eagerly agreed that yes, he should go. My dad told Esther he was staying for dessert, and Haley could make her own choice about being a decent person or not. His tone made it clear what choice he thought she should make. Haley gave Kyle an ultimatum right there at the table. She said either I had to stop bringing people with skin problems to family dinners, or she wouldn't come back. She clearly expected Kyle to side with her like he always did. Kyle looked at me, then at our parents' disappointed faces, then back at Haley. He said quietly that maybe she shouldn't come back for a while. The room went completely silent. You could hear the clock ticking in the kitchen and someone's breathing. Haley just stared at Kyle like she couldn't believe what she'd heard. She grabbed her purse off the back of her chair and stood up so fast her chair fell over. She yelled that Kyle would be sorry when he realized how much he needed her. We all sat frozen as she stormed through the living room. The front door slammed hard enough to rattle the pictures on the wall. A few minutes later, we heard her car engine rev and tires squeal as she tore out of the driveway. Kyle sat back down at the table, looking like he'd been hit by something heavy. He asked if he'd just broken up with his girlfriend over where people sat at dinner. My mom reached over and touched his hand gently. She said he'd broken up with someone who was cruel to his sister, and would have kept making him choose between his family and her comfort forever. I watched Kyle push food around his plate without eating any of it. The victory I'd felt when Haley stormed out had turned into something heavy in my stomach. My revenge plan worked exactly how I wanted it to. But now Kyle looked like someone had punched him in the gut. Robert squeezed my hand under the table and leaned close to my ear. He whispered that Haley made her own choices and this wasn't my fault. I wanted to believe him, but I kept seeing Kyle's face when he told her not to come back. Esther cleared his throat and tried to break the awful silence that had settled over the dinner table. He said he'd never caused a breakup before, and he wasn't sure how to feel about his new power. His tone was light and joking, trying to make everyone relax a little. Kyle actually laughed, just a short sound, but it was something. He looked at Esther and apologized for how Haley treated him. He said he should have stood up to her months ago instead of letting her be cruel to people. My dad nodded and said that took courage to admit. My mom started clearing plates and suggested we have dessert in the living room instead. The rest of dinner felt weird and strained, like we were all pretending things were normal when they clearly weren't. Over the next week, Kyle turned into a zombie who shuffled through the house, checking his phone every 5 minutes. I'd walk past his room and see him staring at his screen like he was willing it to buzz with a message from Haley. He kept his phone on the kitchen counter during meals so he could see if she texted. She never did. One afternoon, I caught him scrolling through old photos of them together at the beach, at concerts, at restaurants where they looked happy. He closed his phone fast when he noticed me watching, but I'd already seen his face. I started wondering if my revenge was worth destroying his happiness, even if Haley was awful to me. He dated her for 8 months and probably loved her, and I turned her into someone he had to break up with. I felt sick thinking about it. My mom knocked on my bedroom door 3 days after the big dinner. She came in and sat on the edge of my bed without saying anything at first. Then she asked if I felt better now that Haley was gone from our lives. I admitted I felt more guilty than victorious about the whole thing. She nodded like she expected that answer. She told me standing up for myself was absolutely right, and she was proud I didn't let Haley keep treating me like garbage. But she also said using Haley's own cruel tactics might have pulled me down to her level. She explained that I needed to figure out who I wanted to be going forward. Whether I wanted to be someone who fought back with the same weapons that hurt me, or someone who stood up for myself in better ways. I didn't know what to say to that. She hugged me and left me alone to think about it. Robert came over that weekend and found me crying in my room with the door closed. I'd been thinking about Kyle's sad face and my mom's words, and how maybe I'd become just as mean as Haley. Robert sat down next to me on the bed and waited until I could talk without sobbing. He said Haley would have kept pushing and demanding more until Kyle had to choose between her and his family anyway. He pointed out that at least this way Kyle saw her true nature instead of slowly cutting off his family to make her happy. Robert reminded me that Haley started this whole thing by attacking my face and making me feel disgusting in my own home. He said I had every right to defend myself. I wiped my eyes and asked if defending myself had to include hurting my brother. Robert didn't have an answer for that. Kyle knocked on my door later that same day. I told him to come in, and he stood there looking uncomfortable for a minute before sitting in my desk chair. He apologized for not defending me sooner against Haley's awful comments about my skin. He admitted he knew her behavior was wrong the whole time, but he was scared of losing her. His voice got quiet when he said he was ashamed it took her attacking a complete stranger For him to finally grow a spine, I felt tears starting again. But I blinked them back. I told him I was sorry, too. I apologized for deliberately making Haley uncomfortable instead of just talking to him directly about how much her comments hurt me. We both sat there acknowledging we'd handled things badly. Kyle said he was going to be way more careful about who he dated from now on and whether they treated his family with basic respect. He said any girlfriend who couldn't be kind to the people he loved wasn't worth keeping around. 2 weeks passed without any word from Haley. Kyle seemed to be doing a little better, going out with friends more and spending less time staring at his phone. Then one Tuesday evening, his phone buzzed during dinner. He looked at the screen and his whole body went tense. He showed me the message after we finished eating. Haley had texted asking to meet up and talk, claiming she'd been seeing a therapist about her issues with appearance and sensitivity. Kyle asked what I thought he should do. I told him it was completely his choice, but he should watch whether she was actually changing or just saying what he wanted to hear. I reminded him that people could claim they were getting help without really doing the work. Kyle nodded and said he'd think about it. Kyle decided to meet Haley for coffee at a place downtown. He left the house looking nervous and came back 2 hours later. I was in the living room when he walked in. He dropped Claire's throat onto the couch and told me about their conversation. Haley apologized for her behavior, but spent most of the time blaming her actions on stress from work and school. She also claimed I deliberately triggered her sensitivities to make her look bad. Kyle said he told her that even if I did push her buttons on purpose, her initial cruelty about my face started the whole awful cycle. He explained he couldn't be with someone who thought appearance-based insults were acceptable, no matter what excuses she gave. Haley got mad when he wouldn't take her back and said he was choosing his sister over their relationship. Kyle told her that was exactly what he was doing. I kept dating Esther after all the drama settled down. A month later, I invited him over for a proper family dinner without any revenge plots or tension. My parents were amazing with him, asking about his college plans and his job and treating him like a normal person, instead of staring at his skin. Kyle made extra effort to be welcoming, pulling Esther into conversations and laughing at his jokes. We all sat around the table eating my mom's lasagna and talking about regular stuff like movies and sports. I looked around at everyone and realized something had changed. The house felt lighter without Haley's presence hanging over everything. I didn't have to worry about someone judging my face or making cruel comments disguised as concern. Esther squeezed my hand under the table and smiled at me. My acne was still there, probably always would be to some degree, but it didn't feel like this huge thing that defined me anymore. I scheduled a dermatologist appointment 2 weeks after everything calmed down, and the doctor examined my face under bright lights. While asking about my current routine, she adjusted my treatment plan with a new prescription that she said would take a few months to show results. But the important part wasn't really about the medicine. I sat in that office looking at the posters showing different skin conditions and realized I'd spent so much energy fighting Haley that I'd forgotten to actually deal with my own feelings about my face. The doctor talked about realistic expectations and long-term management, explaining that my type of acne would probably always require some level of treatment. I left with my prescriptions and stopped by Esther's apartment on the way home. He was making dinner, and I helped him chop vegetables while telling him about the appointment. Esther put down his knife and turned to face me, saying he thought I was beautiful exactly as I was, acne and all. I started to make a joke to deflect the compliment, but he touched my face gently and told me he meant it. Something shifted in that moment, and I let myself actually hear what he was saying. Instead of immediately rejecting it, we ate pasta on his couch and watched a movie, and I kept catching my reflection in his TV screen during the dark scenes. My face looked the same as always with red marks and active breakouts, but somehow it didn't feel like this horrible thing I needed to hide anymore. 3 months passed and our family dinners became normal again, just us eating and talking without any tension hanging over the table. Kyle started seeing someone named Michelle who worked at the bookstore downtown, and she fit into our family gatherings easily, without making anyone feel uncomfortable. I noticed Kyle watching Michelle interact with everyone, and he seemed more relaxed than he'd been in months. My skin was slowly getting better with the new treatment, but I still had plenty of bad days when my face broke out worse than before. The difference was I stopped canceling plans or avoiding people when my acne flared up. Robert came over for dinner sometimes and brought his new girlfriend, and we'd all sit around talking about regular stuff without anyone's appearance becoming the focus. I realized I'd stopped using my body and face as weapons because I didn't need to fight anymore. Esther became a regular at our table, and my parents treated him like he'd always been part of the family. I still checked my face in the mirror every morning, and some days I felt discouraged by what I saw. But I had people around me who saw past my skin to who I actually was. That felt like the real victory. Not perfect skin or winning some revenge game against Haley.